You will probably discover this film by coincidence. And you can't explain what brings you to Jan Schekauski here. Early on, he wrote down countless of his inexplicable dreams, experimenting with lucid dreams. For a few years, Jan worked for large advertising agencies throughout Germany, manipulating not only images, but also himself. As this work wasted a lot of time and energy for him and didn't really help anyone, he started working as a pallbearer for a few months. The daily closeness to death, led only with a very low income, demanded further jobs. Also active as an extra, Jan met someone during a film shoot in the midst of hundreds of extras who was able to bring him closer to a special animal. For years, Jan had been looking for a small monkey in Germany for a tattoo that expressed his unshakable belief in unplannable coincidence and his connection to the world. There is probably nothing more awakening and stimulating for the imagination than reading books, like discovering something magically unknown, which becomes even more wondrous with every single step. Jan wanted to build a newsstand of all the printed thoughts in the world at the place where time begins and ends. More precisely, between the two Diomede Islands in the Bering Strait near the North Polar Circle, a region with temperatures as low as -50 degrees Celsius. The clocks on both islands are the same, but there is a 24-hour time difference due to the international dateline between the two islands. However, this plan failed because not enough donations were collected. This led to the creation of the book arc on Little Diomede, filled with the favorite books of the local children. They are the only children in the world who can see into the future. Driven by irrepressible curiosity, they travel into our thoughts with their favorite books, newspapers, and magazines. At the international dateline, a place of traveling with time between Russia and the US mainland, the children push the boundaries in the minds of people and time. Destruction and creation go hand in hand, especially in the Philippines. No other country in the world is more affected by typhoons. In the center of the country is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. Jan waited 5 weeks at the foot of the Mayon volcano for a typhoon, but nothing happened. So he wandered through the sunny, warm region and talked to the people he met on his various journeys. One day he saw a child with a small kite, which immediately made him imagine how it would move in a typhoon up in the sky. A few days later, Jan flew a kite with a mysterious image of the sun and some colors that mixed slightly in the wind. Immediately after his return to Germany, a huge typhoon hit the Philippines, followed by the eruption of the Mayon volcano. Its spewing of glowing lava and ash caused over 70,000 people to flee. Jan couldn't get the following question out of his head for years. Can a person be shot without a flower in a pot falling from the sky onto his head. With the last human fear of digital death, everything collapses and is compressed into the tiniest of spaces. A black hole is created, and another one, and many more. And one in Jan's sock. He travels to the USA, to Silicon Valley, starting in Sunnyvale, where he paints a gigantic flower with the sand from the pot. With every step he takes, the 150-kilometer picture is created. Jan enjoys walking and wants to talk to people along the way. A conversation can change everything. Perhaps whispering into the screaming. He spends the night in a hacker house together with people whose algorithms bring us closer to the physical singularity. It's dark, stars shining in the sky, fervent snoring in the room. Beauty can save the world. They say that it's good to munch in the dark, provided you can open your eyes in the dark. One day a friend gave Jan a pair of virtual reality glasses that allow you to immerse yourself in artificial worlds. After only minimal use, he decided to give these glasses as a gift to someone from Cuba. At the time, the country was one of the few places in the world where there were few opportunities to access the internet at all. In Havana, he spent 3 weeks interviewing over 150 very different people about the world they wanted to live in. Curious, almost everyone wanted to put on these VR glasses and see what was previously unseen. However, none of them wanted to keep the glasses. In the middle of his stay on the island, Fidel Castro died, and a 9-day period of national mourning was declared. Silence reigned in the streets of the capital, almost empty of people, interrupted only by the sea breeze. Here is one of the few photos of Jan directly on Havana's shore. A fisherman had to persuade him to do so. Shortly after his return to Germany, he received an invitation from a cultural institution in Baghdad, Iraq, to give an experimental film workshop for students. At the time, the terrorist organization Islamic State was raging brutally in the country, which made Jan feel the need to talk to these people about the overview effect. People who look at the planet from space experience an awe that changes their entire lives. This phenomenon is called the overview effect. What you recognize from up there is humanity, love, emotion, and consciousness, as one astronaut put it. There the boundaries between skin colors, religions, and politics disappear. But his plan in Iraq went wrong and he traveled to Tokyo, Japan. Once there, Jan fell ill and spent almost the entire time of his stay in bed with severe pneumonia, which had the effect on him of lying in a small box. But he left a real box at a Tokyo railway station. In Germany, he filled the box with a few small items that he discovered while traveling. These included a printout of a visa for his stay in Nauru, once the richest country in the world. Something he often thinks back to, especially because his visa was cancelled the day before his outward flight. Nauru, northeast of Australia, a tiny island, the third smallest country in the world, with around 11,500 inhabitants. Nauru owes its wealth to bird poo. For thousands of years, millions of seabirds had left their dung there, and a chemical reaction and the tropical climate had turned it into precious calcium phosphate. When the phosphate reserves ran out, the island became an ecological desert and is now in danger of sinking into the Pacific in a few years due to global warming. But Jan received an invitation to the village of Pomritz in the south of Germany with a population of 80 to work on concepts for a crisis-proof future for the German government. This inspired him to think about how the transformation of money, labor, and democracy could look. Along the way, Jan took on the personality of his antagonist, Officer O'Malley in Pomritz, who is standing for election for Nauru. Over time, he receives requests for dark roles in films and series. These included Tatort, Germany's most watched crime series. His face almost always remained motionless, no matter what happened. Suddenly COVID broke out. Within a few days, the virus paralyzed the everyday lives of people all over the world, causing millions to spend a lot of time indoors. Jan took a liking to the time and began to fulfill an old dream from his childhood. He realized video games, more precisely, mixtape games, interactive collages from pop culture worlds, made possible by the fact that Jan has never been active on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. He really likes boredom, moments in which very special, inexplicable things happen in his head. There is often a wild carnival of thoughts in his head, which can be brought to rest and silence while playing basketball in the park or meditatively moving weights. Physical laws have always been a particularly appealing challenge for Jan. According to the biblical story, Adam and Eve were the first human couple. They lived innocently in paradise until their banishment. Since then, man has only lived in the inner knowledge of the Garden of Eden because Adam and Eve loved the world, which is nature more than life in the presence of God. Paradise is our earth. In fact, it is also in the midst of the impressive nature and rich biodiversity of Kenya. In order to document the earthly return of Adam and Eve to this paradise on film, Jan wanted to have a small garden house dropped from the sky by helicopter into nature from a height of several kilometers in front of Mount Kilimanjaro. 2 urns in the house would contain the ashes of a recently deceased couple from Kenya who loved each other unconditionally and lived happily together for many decades. Everything was ready to be realized and possible, but Jan's inner voice told him that the time had not yet come for the garden house to fall from the sky.
Ich bewundere Menschen, die ihre Worte in Taten umsetzen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die sich ihrer Schwächen bewusst sind und ihre Talente aufs Maximum ausschöpfen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die ihr Leben anderen Menschen widmen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die jeden Stein umdrehen und alles hinterfragen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die Fehler begehen und aus ihnen zu lernen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die geben, ohne etwas im Gegenzug einzufordern. Ich bewundere Menschen mit Tugenden. Ich bewundere Menschen, die sich ihrem Leben stellen, wohl mit dem Wissen, es niemals einfach haben zu werden. Ich bewundere Menschen, deren Leben im Gesicht geschrieben steht, die vom Leben gezeichnet sind. Ich bewundere Menschen, die andere Menschen zum Lachen bringen, mit jeglich anderen lebensbejahenden Gefühlen. Ich bewundere Menschen, die regelmäßig aus ihrem Denken heraustreten, ihrer Einbildungskraft Lernbesuche zu machen, der Fantasie die Chance für Ideen geben, eine Welt zu schaffen, durch das, was wir in unsere Herzen und den Verstand lassen.